First off, I would just want to welcome everybody to the Chainlink Q2 2023 product Q&A with Chainlink Labs Chief Product Officer Kemal Moujahid. I just want to take a second to explain how the call is going to work. I'm basically posing questions to Kemal that are based on the questions submitted through the Google form. A special thanks to those of you that submitted questions, and I will mention the handle, or Kemal will, that asked it. If it was provided, we did get some anonymous questions, so we'll call that out when we see it. One thing just to note, that Kemal's only going to be answering questions, directly related to Chainlink services. I assure you, focusing on Chainlink services and product is a full-time job. So that's what he's locked into. That's what this talk's going to be about. But again, feel free to basically use the chat if you want to chat to each other. In the meantime, again, the questions are coming from the questions that were sort of posed previously. And if we miss anything or we see something, we'll do our best to pick up on that for the next conversation. So without further ado, Kemal, if you wouldn't mind maybe just giving a quick intro and kind of telling us about what you're excited about right now.
Hi everyone. So my name is Kemal. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Chainlink Labs. And in terms of what I'm most excited about, we've just had a really strong quarter in terms of execution. Very much in line with the vision that we outlined last September at SmartCon. And I think if you've read the blog, you've seen how much we've been heads down on executing against that vision. Made a lot of progress on low latency oracles, announced the GMX fee sharing deal, just completed the first CCIP code audits, made great progress with beta partners, announced the Swift collaboration. We also announced the Celo Scale partnership. Functions have passed the 2,000 applicants that have joined the beta and now is available on Avalanche testnet. We've launched Chainlink Automation on Optimism mainnet, Chainlink Automation v2 on testnets, deployed Chainlink VRF on Arbitrum mainnet. And just, we're just coming out of that, all the submissions to the Chainlink Spring Hackathon, which was our biggest event yet with over 13,000 registrations. And I believe we are 4 projects short of 500 projects submitted, which is the highest number ever we've had. So really a lot of very strong quarter. And obviously very much looking forward to Q3 leading to SmartCon in Barcelona. Also very happy to be here today and share the progress to the blog and to this Q&A. Love to keep the community more informed around the product roadmap, and just happy and excited to connect with the community today. And with you, Rory.
Awesome. Well, perfect. Well, yeah, I'm happy to be here as well and super excited. So we'll go ahead and kick it off with question number 1. This was asked by Razor, RZR. I think it's Razor. How far along is CCIP from becoming available publicly?
Thank you, Razor. So I think it's really good to start with this question because I know there's a lot of expectations around this launch. And as I said, we've made great progress this quarter. And thanks to that progress, CCIP is on track and planned for mainnet early access to occur this summer. Testing with early users have already shown great results, but we want to make sure we ensure that the transition to mainnet is smooth. And so we believe it's best to gradually onboard users upon mainnet launch. And we're aiming to have CCIP general availability mainnet ready for later this year. And I really want to thank all our beta partners for the wonderful partnership and all the great feedback that puts us in this position.
Awesome. Well, definitely another reason to be excited for this summer. Moving on to question number 2, and this was submitted by an anonymous individual. Do you see all existing reference price feed users switching to low latency based price feeds? So that's kind of question number 1. And then tagging on that, if a user doesn't need low latency data, what's the incentive to switch?
So feeds and the new low latency architecture, they both offer unique advantages to users depending on their specific use case and the data availability requirements that they have. Chainlink data feeds continuously write asset price data on all supported chains. So if you don't need low latency for your use case, it's just really hard to beat the UX of making a simple on-chain request to get that price data. But even if you don't need low latency, this model is not scalable across all chains and all asset prices, because you got to be updating all this data all the time for all the assets on all the chains, right? Which is why the on-demand pull-based model is so attractive as a more cost-effective data delivery mechanism. So we anticipate that for some use cases, the existing price feed models will still work, but we see a lot of potential for users to migrate to a pull-based model. And obviously, the first use case is for low latency Oracle architecture is purpose-built to support low latency sensitive use cases such as derivatives. For example, GMX needs low latency data feeds to improve the trading experience. The pull-based models also supports applications that need additional data points beyond price, like if you need bid and ask data. Also, this low latency architecture offers a lot of cost efficiencies for data feeds in general, and we're exploring how it can be used more broadly across a variety of other use cases such as lending and beyond. So it's just great to be able to offer both options really.
Great. And I know maybe not everybody might be super familiar with low latency, so we'll try to drop the links in here in just a second if you're not super familiar, but definitely something to keep your eye on. Moving on to question number 3, also submitted by an anonymous individual. Are you able to share updates regarding the launch of Chainlink Solutions on other blockchains?
So we're actively expanding Chainlink services to other blockchain networks, and we prioritize based on user demand and participation in the Scale program. And we now have a whole integrations team dedicated to this that we're scaling up. But I also want to remind everyone that it's not an easy task. Newer blockchain networks often undergo many early upgrades and restructures in their protocols, which requires coordination in terms of the timing of deploying Chainlink services based on these dependencies, which makes giving exact timeline challenging. Also, these new chains, they're net new build, and we're focusing on maximizing the unique benefits that these chains bring as we're natively integrating with, such as finality and throughput, and we're always prioritizing security. All that being said, our integrations team is becoming increasingly efficient with new chain deployments in terms of understanding hardware requests, smart contracts, and RPC compatibility, soak testing, and more. And right now, we're seeing strong demand with L2 ZK EVM networks, and we're actively deploying more engineering resources to scale up the blockchain integration process to meet this demand.
All right. Rolling right into question number 4. Why doesn't Chainlink launch its own blockchain? That way you could have one data feed per asset rather than many data feeds on many chains for one asset.
Yeah, really good question. Well, I think from the outset, the focus of Chainlink has been solving the blockchain connectivity problem. And we do this not by competing with blockchains, but rather by complementing them, by providing all the off-chain data, compute, and interoperability solutions that is required to create more useful smart contract on their network. And we see tremendous value in solving this problem. And as you know very well, there's already a lot to do there. And it's very important that we are able to prioritize our investment if we are to execute properly against our vision. But this question is even more important because we now live in a multi-chain world, and to deliver Chainlink Oracle services to all the protocols on all these chains, we found native chain integrations to be the best possible approach in terms of availability, low latency, mitigating front running, and decentralization versus a relayer or chain dependency design, for example. Additionally, with the low latency data feeds architecture, there can be a single Oracle network per asset, which is a huge optimization, where Oracle reports can be fetched to be delivered on any supported blockchain network. And so this structure allows for increased efficiency, but without the overhead of having an Oracle dedicated blockchain. And we're continuously engaging in research around improving the performance and reliability of Oracle networks and how we support our increasingly multi-chain and cross-chain ecosystem as we evolve over time.
All right, thanks for that. Kind of moving on to the next question here. This is one I always like to hear too, so I'm interested. This is from an anonymous submission. What is Chainlink's competitive advantage over other solutions?
So we're focused on solving the Web3 connectivity problem, which is how we unlock the full potential of this industry. And to build this standard, we focus on two things: security and building a developer platform. So the first one is security, and Chainlink here is time-tested. Chainlink helps secure tens of billions of locked value and facilitate, I think we're nearing $8 trillion of transactional value in the past 18 months, which is pretty incredible. All of that via an unparalleled track record. And in terms of both value lock and transactional value enabled across DeFi, I believe we secure over 70% market share among generalized Oracle solutions. And in terms of security, we don't take shortcuts. Chainlink has been carefully and deliberately built to be a bulletproof network and is run by the leading blockchain DevOps teams, data providers, global enterprises with multiple failover systems, all being monitored 24/7 by a world-class data team. For example, Chainlink data feeds uses 3 layers of aggregation at the data source level, the node operator level, and the Oracle network level, which means that each data point that ends up on-chain has been sourced and aggregated from multiple exchanges, clean of outliers of wash trading, and weighted by volume to ensure the fair market price that are resistant to manipulation or flash loan attacks. So, for example, if I'm going to zoom in on what that means for CCIP and the approach we've taken, not only is CCIP powered by the same node operators that secure Chainlink data feeds, but CCIP uses an independent network of nodes, the Active Risk Management Network, to proactively detect anomalous activity in CCIP's operation. Additionally, CCIP uses a time lock contract, which is a great innovation where updates are proposed on-chain, but the CCIP node operators, they have a time window to review and veto the proposed deployment. And this setup establishes an improved level of decentralization and security for CCIP. And I would add on security that Chainlink uses defense in depth. Defense in depth ensures that the Chainlink services are available even in the most adversarial conditions. And by contrast, we've seen some of our competition go down during major cloud provider outages or fail to post updates on chain during times of high congestion, resulting in poor user experience or financial loss. Well, meanwhile, DeFi protocols that relied on Chainlink were not impacted by these events. And I think Chainlink's decentralized architecture guarantees that data is always delivered reliably and accurately, or that automated transactions are executed on time. So point number 1, security. Point number 2, Chainlink is the industry standard developer platform. So Chainlink is not just a point solution, but it's a complete Web3 services platform that provides data feeds, proof of reserve, randomness automation, cross-chain communication, and more. And what happens is, if you're a developer and you want to build a hybrid app that mixes and matches Web3 and Web2 component, you have a connectivity problem. And so you will need that platform. And then what happens is you use one component, which makes it easier to use another component. And then you use Chainlink, you set yourself up to be successful. And with those, one of the huge advantages as well is that once you use one component, there are fewer trust assumptions to use another component. For example, we've heard time and time again, if you're using data feeds and you have a cross-chain need, then you're going to want to use CCIP because it doesn't introduce a new trust assumption. And this is something that we've heard over and over again. And if you solve the problem for developers and they become successful with the platform, then the platform becomes widely successful. And this has happened time and time again. And this is why we're so focused on making our developers successful. So in short, security and developer platform. And this is what we've outlined in the blog post, where we call this the Chainlink effect, that time and time again, when we see a Chainlink integration or a build partner integrated Chainlink ecosystem, it leads to a surge in developer and user activity.
All right. Well, very cool. And I think that was well said and kind of summarizes it for everybody as well. I know that's a common question. I think now moving on to something related to roadmap, which I know is always important. And this one I kind of wrote in here, which is an advantage of me actually asking the questions. So I've seen a few questions about FSS and Deco, and I think there's even been some in the chat right here. Can you give us some insight around where those products are in development right now and how they're being prioritized?
A good question. So right now, we're extremely focused on delivering products where we see the largest and most immediate demand. And that's low latency data, secure cross-chain functionality, and access to any off-chain resource, which is reflected in our work in low latency Oracle, CCIP, and function. And these solutions will support a stronger foundation for the Chainlink network to scale moving forward. So it's very, very important that we focus on those things right now. At the same time, we're still engaged in research and development for both FSS and Deco. These are cutting-edge technologies and therefore not designs that go into production overnight, but we plan to share more updates in the future as they become more available. But believe me, I would love to talk more about what our researchers are working on. But generally, our principle is to focus on execution, because we know that there are high expectations around Chainlink, and at the end of the day, this is what matters, right? And I don't know if you remember in the Q1 product Q&A, someone asked me a question about low latency Oracle progress, and I said, look, I would love to talk about it, but stay tuned, right? And now, a quarter later, we have GMX, a top protocol, as launch partner, and that's similar to what you saw with CCIP and our recent blockchain interoperability collaboration with major financial institutions. So, as always, we remain heads down so that we can come back to our community with tangible results, because at the end of the day, only results count.
Definitely. So we go for roadmap, and then now we go to staking. Obviously, that's another one I know I've seen a lot of community questions on. And this is me summarizing. There was definitely a lot of these. There was a couple questions around staking, but just really succinctly, how is staking v0.2 coming along?
Yeah, I know that's another highly anticipated launch, and I know there are a lot of questions around staking. Generally, staking 0.2 is currently on track to launch this year. Now, the blog post and this Q&A are focused around developer products, so people will find more information about staking and economics generally in the recent one-year Economics 2.0 update blog. I can also add that currently we're aiming to start the audit phase for staking 0.2 this summer.
All right, very, very cool. Moving on to our last question, and this is not as much directly related to the blog post, but I know something that people have kind of asked about as well. You've worked on some major Web 2 technologies, and then you kind of dove headfirst into Web 3 and went down that rabbit hole, and have now been working for Chainlink for over a year. What's the experience been like so far?
Great question. Well, first, let me tell you, this has not been a quiet, uneventful year in Web3 or at Chainlink Labs. But it's been a great year. Look, I don't want to sound tone deaf, and I know this is a challenging time in crypto. But what I learned from my time at Facebook and Google building TensorFlow is that anything worth building takes time. What matters in the long run is having the right vision, strong fundamentals, the right team. And I definitely see that here. I mean, the vision makes sense. I see the whole space building. We've just had a record submission or hackathon, and I'm seeing trends across Web3 with institutional adoption of tokenized assets and on-chain finance, public-private chain interoperability, and DAOs organically adopting Chainlink. All of these are important indicators of the role Chainlink will play as Web3 grows in orders of magnitude. And look, people are going to want to own their assets. They're going to want to own their data. They're going to want to own their contracts. So it's definitely happening. And I got to say, I feel pretty good about the bets we're making. Our users and our partners and our community are going fast. And the team at Chainlink Labs is world-class, hardworking, and very, very execution-focused. And look, I realize there's a lot of high expectation of us here, and I don't take them lightly. And the way we live up to these expectations is to be heads down on execution and on scaling the foundation of the Chainlink platform. Because at the end of the day, the results are what matters. So I'm really glad to be sharing progress with the community. I hope this helps, but we're going to be judged on results. So we're going to enter another strong quarter of execution, and I look forward to talking again in 3 months so I can share what we've been working on. And I want to thank, again, all of you who are helping us build the Chainlink standard.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Kemal. I really appreciate it. Thanks for carving out some time. Again, if you don't follow Kemal on Twitter or check him out on LinkedIn, he actually does a lot of cool posts, some of which are Chainlink, some of which are AI. So definitely give him a follow if you haven't done so. And yeah, we got SmartCon coming up here in a couple months. Love to see you there as well. Kemal's going to be there. As you can imagine, we'll be giving more additional updates on products and have some cool things to share there. So hopefully I'll see you there. Otherwise, thanks for carving out some time to spend with us today. We'll see you in the next couple months when we do this once again. If you have any feedback, by all means, let us know. We're always trying to get better and improve. Otherwise, Kemal, thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. And thank you, everybody else, for joining us here in this chat. I will definitely see you around and talk again soon. Thanks, everybody.